ASMR Magical Tools. Hello, Virgo. Hello, 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 hello. So, for the mutable signs this month, I am going to be burning a cone of this white sage backflow incense. White sage backflow incense. It's a little bit tricky to burn. Little bit tricky. But I think we can manage. Let it get started. Let it get good and inferno-y. And then see if we can blow it out. Try to get a good burn pattern going. Okay. So, the first card that I'm going to pull for you, Virgo, is from this Flower Magic Oracle deck. Flower Magic Oracle deck. And I really love these cards. They have a very late 90s aesthetic. Which I crave more of in my life. Alright, Virgo, let's look at... This is a very, archetypical energy. I love these cards. The edges are gilt, too, which is really neat. Silver gilt. Alright, so the card that I pull for you this month, Virgo, is Evening Primrose Moon Magic. This has a lot to do with feminine energies. And of course makes sense for the sign of Virgo, which is the maiden. Let's see. Evening Primrose, here we go. See the glow of magic in the night. 'Tis the moon shining her beautiful light. Seek her counsel while you bathe in her glow. Ask her for advice about what you need to know. Under the moonlight, see what moves in the dark. Allow what you see here to reignite your spark. The moon controls so much that moves within us. What is it that she is trying to tell or show you? Are you not listening or looking? Her magic is linked to emotions. Are yours overwhelming you? Let go, let it out, let it flow. Don't keep it bottled up. Go outside in the dark and look up. Ask for her advice, support, and wisdom. Seek out the feminine no matter what gender you are. Trust in your sisters or even in the feminine side of yourself to bring about balance in your personality. The moon may be telling you that someone of the feminine persuasion has your back and possibly some insight for you. So I'm going to put that card right here next to the lion. And this could also be, if you are a practitioner, it could be urging you to work with a purpose of some kind. Alright, Virgo, so next on the agenda, we're going to get out the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. And Matt Hughes has a couple of other decks coming out. The Dreamscape Oracle deck is already out, and the Luna Tarot will be available later this year. So if you enjoy his decks, I just wanted to mention that this is not a sponsored video or anything. I just really love his artwork. And I wanted to mention that for other people who might also enjoy his artwork very much. Alright, so Virgo, let's lay out this Celtic cross for you. Having to muster all the strength into my forearms that I possibly can to shuffle this deck. Current situation, past, present, future, goal or destiny, We have your perspective. We have an outside perspective on the current situation, your hopes and fears, and then finally, the final outcome. So, put all these cards away for now. And I've been starting back here in the past to see what the origins of this situation are. And here in the past we have the Four of Pentacles. So you could have made a concerted effort to conserve your resources, Virgo, to save money or resources in case you need them in the future. So past you was already thinking about situations where you might need a reserve. The current situation, we have the Well. Now the Well is one of the cards which Matt Hughes added to the tarot, so the Ethereal Visions deck actually has 80 cards instead of the usual 78. And this card has to do with digging deep within yourself and new resources possibly coming to light because of that. Enlightenment and growth are also parts of this card. Crossing this card, we have the Ten of Pentacles, so some kind of financial cycle completing. And this might be the impetus for you to have this revelation that we're seeing in the card of the Well. And it all looks very good so far. This card here has to do with your perspective on the current situation. And we have the Six of Swords in the reverse. You might be thinking about moving. You might be thinking about moving or traveling, but not really have the resources to do anything about it yet. Here in the outside perspective looking in, we have the sun. So from the outside looking in, everything looks very good for you. Very good, Virgo. Very good. This reading is for Virgo sun, moon, and rising for the month of May 2021. I didn't mention that yet. I was too busy lighting your incense. So, what is the truth of the matter? What is the truth here that we're seeing between your perspective and the outside perspective? It's the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. So this could be leaving a long-term career. It could also be that you are not meant for the corporate world. That could be another thing that is meant by this. A failure to secure employment in a traditional field, and not really being headed on that path at this time. It doesn't mean you're doing poorly employment-wise. It might just be that you are not meant for certain paths. Now we're going to start looking into the future. And what we have here, this could also be that you are just about to get started on this career path. But again, we don't really have like an Ace of Pentacles coming out here. So this looks more like you have the potential for longevity, or that you do not have necessarily the potential for longevity within a traditional workplace, is all that means. But like I said, that's not necessarily bad. So this is your hopes and fears, and this is the condition which will be crossing the future. We have the Artist coming out, and because this is a crossing card about hopes and fears, it doesn't really matter if it's upright or in the reverse. Reverse means you're afraid you'll be inadequate. Upright means you're hoping for that position. So I think that you're hoping very much that you'll be able to make a living as an artist of some kind. Let's look here at the future now. The future. We have the Three of Wands coming out in the reverse. So you have put a lot into a situation, and you will be waiting for a return on that. Now that return might not come in the month of May, but it does look like it's at least on the horizon. This card being in the future position, I think that means that unlike this card, which is in the reverse in the current situation, when it's in the reverse in the future, that means that you do not yet see the prospects for that situation. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It just means that it's not clear and apparent to you at this time. So let's look at your goal or destiny card. And we have coming out there the Ace of Swords, which is an awesome card to get in this position, an awesome placement for this Ace of Swords. Even though it's in the reverse, the Ace of Swords has to do with a change that you effect upon your life from within. And look how we have this lined up. So the realization that corporate life is not for you. We also have the Well as part of this line of cards. And then we have this Ace of Swords, so that enlightenment leading to your action, Virgo. Let's look here now at the final outcome, and then we'll get into the Lenormand 12 houses part of the reading. And we have the Knight of Swords also coming out reversed, but also in a future position. So that just means that these two swords of action that are coming through, because the wands are passionate action, but these swords are logical action. So there's a movement there, but it's a movement that is going to be controlled by you, Virgo. And so these cards coming out in the reverse, that just means that you have not yet come to realize that opportunity, but it is waiting for you in the future. In the future. In the future. Alright, Virgo, so next we're going to be reading from this Lenormand deck, which I designed. There's a link to my Etsy shop down in the description if you like these cards and would like to purchase them. The first house has to do with the self and beginnings. Has to do with the self and has to do with beginnings of situations. And so we have this Four of Pentacles back here in your past. And that card is in the upright. That leads me to believe that you saw the foresight to set aside money for yourself for future situations. So in the first house, we have the Tower. The Tower can represent government, corporations, but it can also represent control. It could be that you are able to save this money because you had a corporate type job that provided resources to you when you needed them at that time and allowed you to save. So let's look now at the second house, which is your finances and also has to do with stability. So then in this second house, which is over here by the Six of Swords in the reverse, we have the Clover. So right now in the month of May, you're going to be very lucky as far as finances are concerned and as far as your stability is concerned. And this is a fast kind of luck. So this is like getting extra back from your taxes that you weren't expecting. Or I know that the tax deadline has been moved to May 17th here in the United States. So that might have been a lucky break for some of you. Or you could have the opportunity to move because this is here by this Six of Swords, or there may be a lucky break that happens so that you don't need to move. The third house has to do with communication. It has to do with siblings and immediate surroundings and short distance travel. And this is down here in the realm of the Imam Sili, which is the lowest point on the astrological wheel, and has a lot to do with these are all of these situations which will establish the groundwork for what you see up here in the future in the midheaven. So in the third house we have the Mountain, and this is exactly what Cancer got in this area too. The Mountain can be obstacles. This could be obstacles with communication. It could be obstacles in your immediate surroundings, or it literally could be a short distance trip to the mountains. Where I live, I could drive very easily and in less than an hour get to some mountains if I wanted to take a short trip there. There's actually a lot of mountains which are a relatively short trip from where I live. The fourth house has to do with home and family life. And I do have could be something going on in your home and family life, which is a burden to you and is creating obstacles of some kind. And remember again, this card with the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse about some kind of long-term career path not working out. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. What we have here is this burden that we're looking at now without a lot of context in the fourth house of home and family. But because of all of the career energy that's down here in the Imam Sili, when we get up here to the 10th house, we might find out a lot more about what this situation in the fourth house is referring to. There's also this square here between the tower, which I was saying might have been this source of this savings that we see occurring in the past, and the cross here with this burden. And because you're thinking of moving, it could be that there are certain things going on with your house. If you own a house, it might be that like the mortgage is a burden to you. Not that you can't afford it, but just that you could use your money in better ways. So, all of those things to consider. The fifth house now has to do with creativity, romance, and childhood. So this could be you, your childhood. It could be your children, or it could be children that you are responsible for. And of course, your creativity. Those things are your children too. So that's how it all ties together. And in the fifth house here, which, remember, you have the sun over here. From the outside perspective, everything looks very good for you. We have the heart. So this could mean that you are romantically fulfilled at this time. It could also mean that there is new romance coming in for you, Virgo, if you are not currently coupled. The next house is the sixth house and has to do with your daily routines and your health. Daily routines and health. Health. And over in the sixth house, we have other. So your daily routines might rotate around a partner or a child or somebody who is very close to you. And then as far as your health is concerned, there could be situations between you and another person where they are able to help you monitor your health because they are very close to you. We're getting over into the oppositional cards now. So the seventh house is in opposition to the first house and has to do with your relationships to other people. So this can be partners, romantic, or business. And can also have to do with, and I have a jumper here, can also have to do with legal matters, or can have to do with open enemies. Now, I do have the letter coming out for your house of partnerships and legal matters. So there could be some kind of settlement coming to you. There could be some kind of news about a legal settlement, if that is something that's going on with you. But this could also be, because it's over by the artist and by by the Three of Wands, this could be a letter from somebody who is interested in being your business partner, who is interested in partnering with you on a project. So that would be very good for the future, the future, the future. Now the 8th house, which is also kind of touching on those cards that are in the future. And the 8th house is in opposition to your 2nd house of finance and stability. So that means other people's finances and transitions are covered by the 8th house energies. So that includes death and sex also. Death, sex, and taxes is what people often talk about in the 8th house. And the card we have coming out there is the mouse. The mouse. So, the mouse is about things being nibbled away. Nibbled away. So there could be an erosion of other people's resources. Or that part of a transition is that something is being eaten away. So it could be a kind of a gradual process between these two things. It could be that your inheritance is being eaten away, or if you're being supported by somebody else, their resources could be eaten away as well. Not necessarily by you, but that would be an important thing to recognize. And I do have a card for the 9th house that jumped out because you had the clover here in the 2nd house, which is luck regarding your own finances and stability. There's probably some kind of situation where this erosion of someone else's resources is directly benefiting you. And I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but you're going to have to be able to recognize that in your own circumstances, because it seems like it would be pretty specific from person to person. Now we're getting up here into the midheaven, and the 9th house has to do with your spirituality. It has to do with long distance travel, and it has to do with higher education. These are all the things that we do to raise our vibrations, and things that you do to seek enlightenment. When you are looking for enlightenment, you take part in all of these 9th house activities. So remember that in direct opposition to this, we have the 3rd house, where we had the mountains, which could be some kind of obstacle, or it could be a nice short trip to the mountains. Looking at the Imam Sila in totality, it could be that the prospects of long-term career in a corporate setting were an obstacle and a burden to you. That is also a way to read that in the context of this, of how I do my spreads. So up here in the 9th house, we have the crossroads. And the crossroads is a card about a choice between two different paths. So remember, we have this Ace of Swords up here in the midheaven, which shows that there is going to be some kind of transition which you will be affecting in a very active way, because remember, we also have the Knight of Swords coming out here, moving forward. So you might have a choice between two specific paths as far as that is concerned. And now we're getting into the 10th house, which is going to tell us a lot more about this career opportunity. Alright, so... I feel stressed out about pulling this card. I don't know why. We have the clouds. So the clouds is trouble ahead. Stormy weather. It doesn't mean necessarily that you will not be able to have a long-term career. But things might be kind of turbulent. It might be that you have a lot of jobs that kind of last for a short period of time and you kind of hop from one thing to another. But you're always able to take care of yourself. And we had the clouds and the crossroads coming out up here, so it could just be that there is turmoil because you have a choice between these two things, a choice between two different options. So the 11th house is about iconoclasts. It can also have to do with your social groups, including social media, and it can have to do with novel ideas, brand new concepts. So this is in opposition to your 5th house of creativity and childhood and romance, and is up here by this Knight of Swords, which is air energy, fire of air energy. We have the lily coming out here. So this could be an older person, this could be an elderly person, or this could be using a very innocent and pure approach to obtaining these new ideas. You could befriend a person or meet through your social groups a person who is an iconoclast and is very advanced in age. So those are a couple of different options for this position. This could be a romantic partnership as well, because you see the heart down here in the 5th house, which is in direct opposition to your 11th house. And now we're getting into your 12th house, which is about your psychic intuition and also has to do with endings. Psychic intuition and endings. And we have here in the 12th house we have the key. So the key is something that you need to pay attention to. So pay close attention to your intuition, and especially think back to this past situation where you had saved all of this money, where you had saved all these resources from this corporate job, if that's the situation that it was for you. Think about how you knew about that. Pay attention to the messages that you get in dreams and the messages that you get like flashes of inspiration in your waking life. Virgo, thank you so much for joining me for your sun, moon, and rising monthly forecast for the month of May 2021. looks like some really phenomenal things are going to be happening for you here in the month of May if you allow them into your life. If you would like to submit questions for future Q&A videos, please look down in the description for a link to the Google form. That way you can submit your questions anonymously, if you so choose. I would also love to hear from you in the comments if you enjoyed this video. It does help my engagement in the YouTube algorithm. Virgo, I hope you have a lovely evening, week,